When I first started growing vegetables, I would hand water my entire garden, and it worked, but it wasn't very efficient. And the more I learned about what vegetable plants really want, the more I realized that consistent, deep irrigation is key, and the best way to achieve that was through an automatic irrigation system. So each season I would adapt my system and change it up a little bit to find out what was going to work best. I'm Kyle from Urban Farmstead, and in this video I'm going to show you everything that I did to set up this new irrigation system in our new garden, and hopefully you can use some of these ideas to adapt to your garden. The two main components for this irrigation system are this 1/2-inch emitter line that has 0.5 gallon per hour emitters every 12 inches and this 3/4 inch irrigation header that I'll be connecting the emitter line to. I'll also be using some irrigation staples to hold everything down, a couple of T's and other adapters for the hose, and then a 3/4 inch threaded T that I'll be using to tap into my water supply, and two 3/4 inch adapters to connect the irrigation header to. The only tools I'll be needing are a wrench or some pliers and some snips or scissors. Let's go put this together. For this phase of my project, I'm starting from this one irrigation riser right here. This single 3/4 inch pipe will supply all of the water necessary to irrigate this entire vegetable garden with the system I'm installing today. This pipe is connected to one of my irrigation valves that's connected to an automatic irrigation controller. If you want information on how I set that part of the system up, I have another video on that, so I'll link it below. But today, we're starting right here at the supply. When using threaded couplings in an irrigation system, it's important to use Teflon tape to create a watertight seal. I'm assembling this T adapter to create a central connection point that will supply my irrigation header, which will run to each bed. This is my irrigation header, and it's my first time ever using something like this, but I absolutely love it. Basically, it's a 3/4 inch hose that has 1/2-inch swivel connection points pressed into it every 12 inches. Which is perfect for me because before I even found this product, my plan was to use 1/2-inch emitter line spaced every 12 inches to irrigate these beds. This header is definitely convenient, but it's not necessary, and it's a specialty item, so you might have trouble finding it. But don't worry, I'll show you ways to create the system without using one. This video is not sponsored by or associated with any of the products I'll be using, but I will have links to all of them in the description below. The supply for this header is located near the center of its 60-foot span, which is ideal because it'll provide a more consistent flow than if it were to be connected at either end. Now's a good time to charge this line so I can check the flow and clear out any dirt or debris. If there's one thing I've learned about irrigation projects, it's that you should never expect them to go according to plan. Uh-oh, that's not good. Especially when you're working on a system that was initially installed by someone else. Apparently, the previous homeowner had snapped off a sprinkler head in this same zone and just decided to bury it. This small setback is actually a blessing in disguise because now I have a secondary riser that I can tap into if I need more pressure. But for now, I'll just cap it with this conversion kit that has an internal pressure reducer and filter. Now that that's taken care of, I can finish flooding the line. Next, I'll install the 1/2-inch emitter line to each bed by just pressing one end into the header. To create this same system without an irrigation header, you can use 1/2-inch flex tubing or 1/2-inch emitter line and just install a T every 12 inches along your raised beds. Now I'll lay out the emitter line and circle it back to the header. It's called emitter line because it has 0.5 gallon per hour emitters incorporated into the hose every 12 inches. And for optimal coverage, it's a good idea to stagger those holes as you're laying it out. Once it's all laid out, I'll fine-tune the spacing and staple it in place. 12-inch spacing will provide just enough irrigation to saturate the entire bed, which is ideal for any crop because you always want your roots to reach out. I also have a few narrow beds where I'll plant a single row of crops like tomatoes, beans, or cucumbers that will vine up a trellis. I'm using the same emitter line here with a simple up and back. But again, I'm staggering each emitter to have optimal coverage. The one and only drawback I found to this irrigation header was that having pre-plumbed irrigation fittings every 12 inches is convenient as long as you need them. But my beds are separated by pathways, so I don't need irrigation every 12 inches. So in long spans where there were 2 unused fittings, I just joined them together with a short hose. And single unused outlets were simple to plug by just taping a crimped hose. Once I completed the irrigation for each bed, I ran a 60-foot length of emitter line along the fence that will eventually irrigate a hedgerow of bay laurel. At the end of any dead-end line, a simple crimp and tape is an easy and effective way to cap the flow. At this low point in the system, I'll also incorporate a capped hose that can be used to either flush the system or drain the system in areas that freeze. Okay, let's see if it works. With everything flowing well and no obvious leaks, I'll leave the system on for about a half hour, then check the coverage. From the surface, it looks like this irrigation is kind of patchy and there's some dry spots in the middle, but if you dig down just a little bit, you'll see that this entire bed is completely saturated after just a half hour, and anything planted anywhere in this bed will be getting adequate irrigation. Irrigation schedules depend a lot on your soil composition. I'll run this system for about an hour, once or twice a week, even in midsummer when it's 100 degrees. Well, it's been a couple of weeks now since I installed this irrigation system, and in that time I've actually been able to plant most of our summer vegetables, and well, nothing's died yet. If you have any questions about this irrigation system or any questions about your irrigation system, ask them in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more videos like this, including all of the upcoming videos on how I'm creating our new urban farmstead, hit subscribe. And otherwise, I'll see you all next time.